working in a service station, another selling insurance, while another is busy in the meat market. Suddenly, this sound shatters the quiet of the small town. The siren at the firehouse. And suddenly, the service station attendant is gone. The butcher is on the run. The insurance salesman leaves his desk, all responding to a single call, the sirens, the sound of trouble. And these men hurry to protect their vested interests in their community. They are volunteer firemen in the state of New York, a state that has more volunteer fire departments than any other in the nation, and their record remarkably efficient. These men all responding without pay to protect their respective communities. That's the serious side. Today on ABC's Wide World of Sports, the other side of these same men as they compete for fun, for bumps, for bruises, for trophies, for the right to be called champion in the New York State Firemen's Competition.
Spanning the globe to bring you the constant variety of sport, the thrill of victory, and the agony of defeat. The human drama of athletic competition. This is ABC's Wide World of Sports.
Brought to you by Allstate. We insure your home, your car, your health, your business, and your life. You're in good hands with Allstate. And by Tuborg Gold, the golden beer of Danish kings, now brewed in America and affordable to everyone.
Many times in the history of ABC's Wide World of Sports where a lot of us haven't really believed what we have seen. Today at Cicero, just outside of Syracuse, New York, may be another one of those days. At least for a lot of you, as we come back for the first time in a decade to watch the New York State Firemen's Competition. No, the name is not Prudhomme, it is still Jackson. And though I admit to being slightly touched, I haven't lost all of my marbles, because I am not about to take off down a drag strip in a dragster. Though certainly looks like it, doesn't it? But this is a toy. It's also utility, and it's very much a basic in the competition for the volunteer firemen of the state of New York. This vehicle, paid for out of pocket, hand-built by the men from St. James Fire Department down on Long Island, will go plummeting down here. They'll jump off at speed, up go the ladder. That's just part of the competition that is going to look a little crazy. It's going to look hazardous, outright dangerous. But it's the spirit of this event that reflects the kind of camaraderie that has, I guess, made this society great and this country great. It's an unusual thing. We're a group of men back in the horse and wagon days, back in the 1880s, got together and started competing. Firemen. It's also part of their training. It's a motivational thing to keep them in shape, and it pulls them together. In the 1900s, they started adding vehicles, trucks. Now you have this, a dragster that goes roaring off down through here. It's wild, a little bit crazy, but it's fun. Now these semi-dragsters are going to be used in our first competition we'll see called the Class C hose. And it works this way. You have a driver sitting in there to handle the vehicle very carefully. Then you have a team of men on the back, and they travel 475 feet from the start line to the hydrant where a stop has to be made. Not a total stop, just slow down. Then another 175 feet where the nozzle has to be put on the hose and they try to hit a target that's electrically timed. We're going to watch the Islip Wolves as our first team in the Class C hose. They'll come screeching off that line as fast as possible with Bill Matthews, an electrician, driving. The man buckling at the hydrant will be Ed Balavka, an executive. They're on their way with the nozzle man, Jack Kaysen, and the breaker, Mike McKenna. Here's the first stop, burning a lot of rubber. Only one man gets off. That's the coupler, Ed Balavka. He can't hang on. The hose jerks right out of his hands. So they don't have a chance. No time for the Islip Wolves. They gamble on having one man at the hydrant, and it did not work. Ordinarily, you'll see two men at the hydrant, one handling the hose while the other one couples, and then two men down to break the hose and put the nozzle on. The driver here is Richard Schrieffer, Jr. He's a chauffeur by trade. Is that fair? Got him flying. Now, make the slow down here as smooth as possible. He slowed it very well. At the coupler, it is Gregory Besta Carpenter. Cannot get the hose on. And no time here for the Elmont Bangtails. The Elmont Bangtails come up with no time because Greg Bass just not able to get it hooked up in time. And so the Bangtails come away empty. My goodness, tough luck. It's a total teamwork. Everything went well except the hose didn't go on the hydrant. Now back at the start line, the St. James Wildcats. They were the state champions in 1957, 66, 71, and 72. And you can see they have a fair crowd of partisans standing behind them, don't they? The man handling the nozzle here is Lynn Comfort. The man driving is Bill Coward. He's a truck driver by trade. The breaker is Fred Orth, a machinist. The man coupling at the hydrant will be John Collins, the medical student, and anchoring at the hydrant will be Leonard Bowe, an Air Force trainee. Good, smooth stop. He slowed a little sooner than some of the others have. Let's see if they can hook it. Yes, the hose is hooked. Now the nozzle. All right, not bad. They hit the target in 14.33 seconds, the St. James Wildcats. We'll have some more of this in just a moment. Here's where the water's coming from as we continue our coverage of the New York State Volunteer Firemen's Competition out of that tank through a pump truck into the hydrant. And we're continuing now with our C-Class hose competition where they're using these wild, crazy semi-dragster vehicles to come screeching down. And we look at one of the most unusual of all vehicles, Lindenhurst Snails, and they've got a six-wheeler driven by Doug Shebus, a metal fabricator who built it. They put that double wheel system on the back trying to get a little braking advantage, but so far it's resulted in a little fishtailing for them. So let's see what happens here for the Lindenhurst Snails. Oh, burned a lot of rubber. A couple of guys fall down at one end and then both go down at the other end. And the hydrant anchorman, Desi Desjardins, looked to me like he went down very, very hard. There'll be no time for the Lindenhurst Snails because the coupler, John Tanner, an electronic engineer, and the breaker, Tom Marino, a welder, just simply couldn't get it nailed down in time. Michael Francazuri also took a tumble on that. We see that little fishtailing, and the two guys came off the back. They just really couldn't get their balance, and then more fishtailing, and Desjardins went down very, very hard. But he seems to be all right as he limps away. So no time for the Lindenhurst Snails. Oh, that's a hard way to earn a trophy. A reminder, we've got one of the highlight collegiate football games of the year coming up right after ABC's Wide World of Sports from Los Angeles. The Crimson Tide of Alabama and the Southern California Trojans at 3:30 Eastern Time. Right now, let's concern ourselves with the West Carthage Hornets, ready to come off the starting line with Bob Miller, an electrician, doing the driving. Look at that vehicle. Milk my hand, and here it comes. All right, the hydrant men are off in good shape. The coupling by Kevin Sturia. Good. The nozzle in place and the water hits the target at 15.06 seconds. So Bob Miller, Steve Miller, Larry Powell, Kevin Sturia, and Dave Rounds Jr. do their job. Okay. These people used to hold the record in the sea hose competition. About 15,000 people here watching at Cicero, New York, while we sweep away some of the excess water. And we'll have a look now at the Manhasset Lakeville Minutemen with Dennis Casey, a hospital orderly, ready to drive them. Wilhowski, Bukovinsky, Mastro, and Paradise, the team members from Manhasset Lakeville. The first stop, good shape. The coupling by Mastro. The anchor by Paradise. The water is flowing. The nozzle by Wilhowski and Bukovinsky. And it's 14.15 seconds for Manhasset Lakeville. Oh, the Minutemen did their thing, didn't they? That'll be worth another look, as Manhasset Lakeville handled it from the very beginning just exactly right. The slowdown for the hydrant and the coupling was smooth. Both of the men coming off the back were able to keep their balance and get to their target. slowdown at the end of the hose was also smooth enough that both men were able to get in position. And by the time the water got there, the nozzle was in place at 14.15 seconds. Manhasset Lakeville wins the Class C hose competition. Now, if you enjoyed this, stand by for the C ladder. You'll have a little trouble believing that it's next. Our next event for the New York State Volunteer Firemen's Competition is the C ladder, actually a motor hook and ladder exercise. The C designation comes from the fact we're still using those semi-dragsters, and this is the doggonedest thing I've ever seen in my whole life. Jimmy Martino is going to be driving for the East Meadow Meadowlarks, and the idea is to come from the start just as fast as you can and then try to stop in the shortest space possible, using as little time as possible, stopping it so that the 4 men in the back can whip that ladder off. 25-foot-long ladder going up to a 21-foot platform, and the climber in this particular team is Neil Rohde, a security supervisor. But the driver and the climber are so important. Here come the Meadowlarks. Oh, no. Down goes the climber, Neil Rohde. He's the first man stepping off to the left side of the truck, and he took a tumble. I don't believe that Jimmy Martino was able to get the vehicle on a straight line and hold it there. Burning rubber, not able to get it to a speed in which the diggers, Jimmy Ahern, Paul Snyder, and the thrower, Ducky Smith, could handle, and Neil Rohde goes tumbling down. Oh, he's going to be sore tomorrow. You've got to get that thing slowed down to about 25 miles an hour. If you're going faster than that, it's pretty hard to get your feet under you. And Neil Rohde is walking away from it, apparently all right. Next off the start line, the Central Islip Hobos, who set the state record for this event, 1976, at 9.25 seconds. The driver here is Henry Frank. The climber is Rick Mossinger. The thrower is Don Miller. Bill McCarthy and Charles Sucamani are the diggers, and here they come. Looks like a good stop. Down goes the ladder, up goes the climber, Rick Mossinger, and he's at the top, touching the top rung and stopping the clock as his hand comes in contact with it at 9.97 seconds. Well off the state record set last year by Central Islip, but still a good time, less than 10 seconds for that run. Now the West Sayville Flying Dutchman with Bob Mara doing the driving, Warren Horse doing the climbing, Rick Lee Manuel, Gary Shum the diggers, and the thrower is Bill Brady. And West Sayville, in case you don't know, that's down in the heart of the clam digging country on Long Island. Solid effort by the driver, Bob Mara. Horst is on his way and at the top. That's got to be the best time, and it is 9.62 seconds. Holy mackerel. When the diggers, Shum and Lee Manuel, stuffed those 2-inch spikes in the ground with the thrower, Bill Brady, giving that ladder a good ride as we see it in slow motion, watch Horst. He steps off the truck first. Now up goes the ladder. Now, as the spikes go into the ground, you see Horst, he's already on the 3rd rung of the ladder before it reaches vertical position. So an outstanding effort by the West Sayville Flying Dutchman, 9.62 seconds. Now we're waiting for the Levittown Rebels, and Al Foley, who works for the telephone company, is going to be piloting a 1931 updated Ford Coupe. They rent it out on Saturday nights, whoever's got the heavy date. The climber is Willie Vollmer, a carpenter. Diggers are Kevin Kinsley, George Habermill, and the thrower is John Barodi. And here come the Rebels. Oh, that's a fast Ford, isn't it? Good solid stop, but the climber, Willie Vollmer, goes down. He may have stepped off just a little too soon. I don't know if that's the case. It seemed like the vehicle was going awfully fast when Willie Vollmer stepped off. And you know that he's proficient because he previously held 3 state records in ladder competition. He went down in a heap, rolled a complete flip, came up on his feet, and is walking away. So no time for the Levittown Rebels in the motor hook and ladder. Crowd reacting now as we get the word that the West Sayville Flying Dutchman are the champions in the sea ladder competition, and the man that really made news there was Warren Horst, the climber, 9.62 seconds.